Townsend from WCCO TV, and it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend Ron Henderson, the Fitness King, presenting Motivation, one word to help change your life.
Has there been a time in your life when you've wondered how to improve your credit? Or maybe right now with the virus going on and you're sitting at home, you have more time to reflect, and you're looking at all the bills coming in and you're wondering, what do you do? Well, on today's Motivation, I have the great pleasure of having my good friend, Mr. Nel Duo on Motivation. Welcome to Motivation. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ron. It's a pleasure and honor to be here, so I'm definitely excited about talking.
The honor is mine. You have a great story.
Thank you.
And folks, we are going to talk about credit. We're going to talk about how to build your credit and a whole host of things. But before we do that, I want to get up close and personal.
Definitely.
Where were you raised? What was childhood like? And these are questions that I typically do go through with most of my guests because I think it's important for people to understand that you weren't always in a position that you're in today.
Yeah.
So where'd you grow up?
Well, I actually grew up in Brooklyn Park, so locally within the area. I was born in Liberia and came here around 1990, give or take, when the Civil War, the Second Civil War happened. So my story is unique in that aspect as far as being an immigrant, coming from Liberia as a refugee, just trying to fight for our freedom and our lives. It gets a little more in-depth because with the health issues that kind of complicated things down the road. After leaving the war, it was like, well, we get to America and now another battle begins. So,
okay, and how many people were in your family?
Yeah. So it was my sister, my mom, myself that came here to America. My daddy came earlier on a work visa, and he came just in time before the war, really climaxed, and was able to send for us and get us here in the U.S.
All right. So did you go to high school in Liberia too then?
No. I came here when I was like literally 4.5 years old.
Wow.
So yep. So pretty much, I say the joke a lot. I'm too African for the Americans and too American for the Africans.
Right. You still had your diapers on back then.
Exactly. Yep. So kind of mixing both cultures, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was your family at all? Anybody in your family involved in financial things at all?
That's kind of why I went into it. My dad was a teacher, great guy. He has a heart for teaching. My mom, when we came here, she started nursing assistant just to kind of get herself in the work world, and she's been doing that for the last plus years. So there wasn't anybody in finances. My older sister, I think, got a job one time at TCF Bank and stayed with them. So I always was like, okay, that's interesting. You work at a bank.
Sure.
But it wasn't like, hey, bro, here's how you do things. Here's how it works. It was like, I go to work, I go home. That was kind of the feel of it, yeah.
And what is it like from the standpoint of money and those kind of things in the country of Liberia? Is it's impoverished? What's it like?
Yeah, it's an interesting mix because we have a rich nation or a rich country, but the thought process on finances and the division of how we go about looking on group economics is scattered, and also there's a lot of individualism, so tribalism, things like that. So the aspect of finances is really just shattered in how to do it. It's almost kind of survive day to day. Plus, you have two wars that kind of just desolated all that. So yeah, it's tough. We didn't come from a place where it's like, hey, let's do generational wealth. We didn't even talk about that in the house.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So when did you get started in the financial industry?
So I would say when I really dove in was about 2010. I was needing a kidney transplant. I've been on dialysis about 8 or 9 plus years. I found myself having friends that were graduating from college and getting careers, and I'm still on dialysis, still waiting for a kidney. And
were you just born? You needed that from day one, or what happened?
No, unfortunately, when I was about, I went in for, you had your first physical as a preschooler or so.
Right.
I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Okay.
So the radiation scarred the kidneys, unfortunately, and that's kind of what escalated and climaxed to the kidney failure and shut down around I think it was 2000, I'm sorry, not even 2000, it was 8th grade year, 1999, 1990. And high school, that kind of shut down, played sports and so forth, and started dialysis my junior year, all throughout my 20s.
Okay.
So, post 20s, I was just like, okay, I got to figure out this financial thing. This isn't about get rich or die trying. It literally was figure this out or die trying. So I had.
So you were figuring that out before the transplant?
Oh yeah, I had to. I had medications I had to get, labs. I wasn't able to work full time. Or it was either work or school. So I had to work and so forth. And not coming from a background would have means to say, hey, you just take care of your health. It'll help you financially. I had to, keep a roof over my head. So I had to figure out the financial game just because of a survival aspect of that.
Okay. So what year was the transplant?
Transplant was 2012.
2012.
January 2012.
That was successful?
It was successful. Some hurdles. I always say it was kind of one of those things where the enemy takes the last blow at you before, you get your blessing you've been waiting for. So imagine 11 and a half years on dialysis, all your 20s and a little bit of high school. You get the thing you've been praying and waiting for, but it almost kills you. So I almost literally died having the transplant I was trying to get.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, because you seem to be very positive. Neil, have you always been that way?
I would say perception creates reality. I think I've always had the basis of the positivity, because I had a great family surroundings, a loving environment. My parents and family did the best they could with what they had.
Right.
So, but I had to dig down and decide to be positive. It wasn't like I'm just gonna wake up and sunshine lollipops. It was really kind of like, where am I and where do I want to be?
Right.
And like physical health, you have to work on your mental health.
Yep, I would agree.
So so I had to definitely dig in, watching what I put in myself and so forth.
Okay. So what do you do now in the way of finances? Because we know you have your business.
Yep. So right now I'm actually a licensed banker. I work with a mid-sized company locally, just basically on a consistent work basis. But I also have my own.
You can say the bank too if you want.
Okay, BMO Harris Bank. I work in the Blaine location and sometimes out of Richfield. It's a great organization. Of course, my thought is I'd rather start building my family legacy and wealth versus building someone else's. And so it's a great opportunity to learn, a great environment to learn. I didn't go to school for finances. I dove in hands-on, and it was like, what's this about? This is my university. What can I learn here? And that's how I kind of got into my own
So how many
business.
years were you with them? How many years you been with them?
So I've been with banking industry, financials for 10 plus years.
Wow.
Been with BMO about 2 years. I took about 4 years off and was just doing my consulting business with credit clients as well as business-to-business clients, helping them build credit, and then just working with business-to-business to help with marketing. I really had a passion for marketing and just connecting with people.
Okay. So marketing and finances, what made you actually, I know you talked about it briefly, but what actually made you choose finances?
Yeah, so it was like, I figured it was this. I was already dealing with the health stuff, and I knew that it was a balance in physical health as well as financial health. And the physical health, I had no aspect. I was in that world.
Sure.
But I also realized, like, if I didn't get a balance and harmony of both, I would always be in this kind of rat race, if you will, this revolving cycle. So I had to get an understanding of how to balance not only my physical health, but get a grip on my financial health so I can actually focus more on my physical health.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I asked you that because I remember when the book was written, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yes.
And see, I've wrote several books dealing with people drawing the parallels between those seeking financial wealth versus physical health.
Yes.
And from the standpoint, if you look at how they obtain their wealth, and you put those same emphasis into your physical health, so I like to tie in with that.
That's huge.
Okay.
That's huge. Yeah, so for one, if you're not physically well, it doesn't matter how good your credit is, how much money you have in the bank.
Yep.
If you're not physically or mentally well, all that just means nothing. You can get a power attorney to manage your money for you.
Right.
You can't enjoy it. So getting my physical health in line helped me to actually see clearly and beyond what the whole financial matter was. Because stress itself is a killer. I found myself eating things I wasn't wanting to eat or supposed to eat because I was stressed out, not dealing with my emotions right. So I was dealing with that in the physical aspect. Once I started realizing that, you know what, until I take care of the younger me now, the older me now is going to suffer, or later I should say is going to suffer. So that was where I was like, okay, let me get the physical aspect down. And as I was working out, I started listening to audiobooks about finances, like you talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Other audiobooks that would kind of help me get in tune, Think and Grow Rich, things like that and so forth. The art of investment, all kinds of things. What is a credit score? How to improve your credit score and so forth. I just dove in. I used the time on dialysis as a university. While most of my friends were actually going to school, I was learning what I needed for life.
Smart. And I tell people right now with the virus situation, I said, take that time now to work on those things you've thought about doing.
Exactly.
People have a dream, but a lot of people are, not everybody, but there's quite a few people that I know that are kind of wasting their time right now.
Unfortunately.
Just the time really to hunker down and focus on those things, because now you got the time to do it.
Exactly.
Okay. And you started your own business what year?
Yep. So I started in 2015.
Okay.
That's when I started the business. At the time, I was assistant manager at a small mom and pop bank, and I wasn't doing loans or anything, but I kept seeing this repetitive credit score thing. And I noticed this particularly in people from the diaspora that I was from. Okay. Foreigners that just came to America, or those that were, African American, or even just from a certain group of people. I realized that there's a loss There's a lack of financial literacy across the board. It's not even a color thing, a race thing. America just doesn't teach you that stuff. That's what they pay guys like me and investors to charge you for making it complicated. But it's not that complicated. You know? So I was like, okay, I got to figure this out, not just for myself, but for my family members and friends.
Right. And why you feel, I know you made a statement, I've done some research on you. You talk a lot about the fact that you believe that financial literacy leads to empowering people financially.
Definitely.
And explain that.
Yeah, so like anything, I believe that the knowledge of self is the beginning of all knowledge. So until you first understand yourself, you can't transition to anything else. So understanding myself and my behavior and habits financially actually helped me to realize, okay, these are the self-imposed limitations that I was setting for myself. These are the thought processes that weren't fruitful. They're actually harmful and creating habits that are harmful. And that's how generational things happen. I look even back at my parents' behavior. So having that financial literacy and educating myself to say, hey, mom, dad, have you ever thought about doing it this way? I see you guys that, you're always working check to check, but what are you paying yourself? What are you saving for your future? Things like that. And having those conversations, I had to really start diving in and also asking some tough questions, am I living what I'm talking about?
Exactly. I always talk about that.
Right, that was a tough question. So that was the one you're like, okay, I know the knowledge now, but am I doing it? And that's when it kind of transitioned when I stepped in fully. And that's why I stepped in my own business. I was like, I'm going to immerse myself in this world to the point where I'm a walking example and I can actually just radiate without actually needing to say words. People ask, what do you do?
So what's the main focus of your business?
So there's a couple focuses, but the main one is financial literacy in the aspect of understanding where your finances are as far as, hey, I focus on credit mainly right now because it's somewhat of the basis of everything as far as in America. It encompasses all. You can't do much without a credit score. It doesn't matter if you're looking for a job. Sometimes they're doing credit pools. Obviously loans and things like that they need credit for. But we come in an era where cash isn't king as much more.
I always say that. I say that in my book, Cash Not King.
And I definitely got to dive into your book, so I'm really excited about some stuff with that as well. So cash isn't king anymore, unfortunately, credit's king. And the way that works is mainly, credit's like a snapshot of the 6 months of your financial behavior. It's not you. A lot of people come in to me and are embarrassed, oh, my credit score used to be, and I'm like, your credit score isn't you. It's just a snapshot of what's been going on in the last 6 months. So I focus a lot on the credit side of it. I focus a lot on educating people on how to maintain that credit. There's a lot of companies out there like, great, we'll help you get up there, but we're gonna hope you don't know what you're doing, so you mess up and come right back to us.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like if you think about health and finance, the hospital isn't necessarily in the business of healing people. They're in the business of keeping people coming back. A lot of financial institutions are keeping people reliant. Like you said earlier within your seminar we're gonna do on getting healthy for Christ, is that a lot of people run to the pulpit and pray for the pastor to put hands on them, but they're not necessarily doing the habits they can do to control their own health, and so forth. So yeah, so it's like that with finances. I focus on more credit because that's the basis of it, and then we transition to home ownership. Setting a legacy for your family, because if you have a good score, you can actually get some property and ownership.
Excuse me.
Yeah, so being things, credit, home ownership, and then mostly after that investment, how to just build your foundation, if you will.
Okay. What's the difference for people that are listening between, you say you got the credit report and credit score?
Yeah. So like we said, the credit report is mainly a breakdown of everything that's been on your scores, a history of your accounts, let it be derogatory or erroneous. It's things that's posted on there as far as a track record of how you've been behaving financially. Now the score is based off a couple criteria. Typically your payment history, the length of credit you have on there, new credit, and sometimes as far as what you may have is, okay, someone has a thin credit file. Meaning, I don't have any credit cards, I use cash only. Or things like I have bankruptcy, but I'm now at a good place. So those are things that are all kind of based on making your full credit score. And it's between at least 300 to 800. Sweet marks between 680 to about 700. The credit score shows now, are you a risk within 90 days of defaulting on your payment? So lenders just want to know, based on your 600 credit score, you're a higher risk, out of 600 people, 6 to 1, that you will default your payment. That's why they have people with lower credit scores pay more interest to offset those. Exactly. So it's kind of sad if you think about it. Those who are struggling with not as much finances actually carrying a heavier load for having a lower score than those who have a higher score.
Okay. Now, what's the difference between FICO scores, because some places you'll look, your FICO score is higher,
Yeah.
but then you check with the other card and they have a FICO score, it's a little lower.
Exactly.
Why is it like that?
That's a great question. So a lot of folks ask me, hey, I have checked on Rental Karma, even at the bank, to come in and they're bold and like, I checked on Rental Karma and my score is 780, and then we pull it, and unfortunately, well, for us, first of all, not all lenders look at all 3 credit bureaus. It just doesn't make sense. We got to pay for them, etc.
Sure.
And then with that, credit bureaus don't really care about the consumer in the sense of that's not their business model.
Sure.
They work with vendors to make sure they provide those numbers. So when they provide those numbers, there's a different sequence of those numbers that they provide. They have the FICO 9, FICO 5, and so forth. The difference between actually having one site that may have access to those numbers based on the criteria of your spending habit, and those sites that actually have those numbers based on what's with the credit bureaus is mainly a facet of who and what company you're dealing with. A lot of companies can pull those numbers in. So you're never really getting a full number unless you go to a bank that actually does a hard inquiry.
Right.
You know, for instance, like if you're looking for a loan or whether it be a personal loan or mortgage, that's when you actually get your real FICO score.
Right.
The other ones are kind of like fluffing, if you will, based on what you have and who you are. And a lot of times your demographics of where you are, and when the zip code of where you live, they pump out some numbers.
Because they're throwing platinums to me all the time, and I just tear the sheet up.
You have good spending history as well.
Because I checked the other day and I said, well, I want to buy something for $12,000.
Yeah.
Buy it.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not buying it. I just thought, let me check.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, of course, I mean, we live in a country that feeds off of debt. So it's like, if you can't afford it, that's on you. But you want to buy it, come on through.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
That's how it goes with that, unfortunately.
All right. So going to your business, somebody needs help building their credit. They walk into your office. Give me kind of a breakdown of how that works, because I'm sure I have viewers that are watching even right now, and people are so leery. I trust you, but they're so leery of people that are just really kind of, they do the, what do you call it? I want to say hook wink and all that stuff. And but bumbazzle them, or whatever the word is.
Little razzle dazzle.
Right, little razzle dazzle. They kind of bait and switch with people.
Yeah.
But give us the real story, because I know you're an honest guy.
Definitely.
They walk into your office, they're trying to build their credit. Take us through those steps. We got about 5 minutes to do that.
Definitely. Well,
about 7 minutes actually.
Okay, fair enough. Walking and working with me is one of the more things like an individual customized plan.
Right.
I see myself more as a tailor, because not everybody's credit score is the same, or credit profile, spending history is the same. So first thing we do is find out where you are. If you think about it, if you go to a mall and you're searching for the store and you're looking around and you see, okay, finally I'm just gonna go to this kiosk thing and see where I'm at to find this store that I've been looking for, right? First thing it says is you are here. A lot of people that have the credit businesses or companies are frivolous in the aspect of finding out where you are. They just say, this is your score.
Sure, right.
So I find out where the person is on the emotional, mental, and spiritual level. Then we transition to actually, okay, this is what your scores are and where you are. And we do a roadmap and a customized plan of how to actually get them to where they need to be. There's an overall blanket you could put over it for certain folks. I don't have enough credit, etc., or I have some negative items, or I have some late payments. But overall, credit's like a fingerprint, because it's how people behave and how they use their finances. So you walk in with me, we sit down and do a deep analysis of your credit profile. I'm not a psychiatrist by any means, but I understand, I want to know who this person I'm dealing with. What are the triggers? What triggers you? What actually motivates you? Why are you even trying to get your scores up? We write that goal down, we help manifest that, and also manifest that in actual tangible steps. So if you need more credit or you have some derogatory, we focus on cleaning the plate, if you will. I use an African parable. I said, before we make a good pot of soup, you got to clean that pot. So we clean the pot, we clean the plate, and then we add good things in there that are nutritious for the credit profile. Let it be trade lines, which I have partnerships with that can add up to $5,000 plus or $10,000 at a time on trade lines. Organizations that can add your rental history as your payment history, dating back 2 years, and adding a 2-year stand directly on your credit profile versus waiting, I gotta use my credit card. So we're able to do things in expedited time, but it's mainly figuring out where the person is, connecting the dots and what we need to do, and mainly pulling things that they need versus things that I think I should sell them.
Right. Why do you care? Because you seem very passionate about it. Why do you care?
Honestly, I feel like it's a collaborative unity, all this. I think that we're transitioning from an era where it was all individualism, from where it was kind of like illusion-based, come in, dance, holler, shoot, and then all of a sudden you go back empty and alone. And I think that there's a piece to it where if we don't start caring about ourselves first, we can't care about anybody else first and foremost. But if we don't start reaching out beyond ourselves, we isolate, and that At the end of the day, we find ourselves, no matter how much success you have or how well you feel inside, you feel empty because we're all about connecting. If you think about it, a person that made the biggest and baddest guy in prison, if he goes to jail, they're not going to beat him up or taunt him. They're going to put him in isolation, and he goes crazy. So I always thought that the unity and the empowerment of having group economics was how we help each other. And I care because I came from a household where we're good people, hardworking people. My mom worked 2 jobs from 6 in the morning to 11 at night. She still does this, you know, but we just didn't understand finances. And I seen her body break down. I seen the stress in the household. And I was like, I gotta do something for myself, my mom, and I gotta help others get out of this trap. That's why I care. I think about my mom every time, and hardworking woman. I think about my dad, great guy, have a passion for helping people, but just didn't have that knowledge or access to it. Or they just thought it's too much to go find someone to help me. You know? Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting, my dad worked about 3 jobs. But the advantage he had was he took care of himself. That's why I tell you, when you're in good shape, you can
do that.
Even with the virus, they're saying, well, you know, they got people in these areas, and you know, you got to really be concerned with people. The older people, they got so many people under 60. I'm like, 60 is young. I'll be 66. That's young.
Well, I got to applaud that right there.
No, but it's young. Thank you. But it's young.
It is.
70 is young. I have friends that are 70 years of age, and if you looked at that person and you saw how they move, do they feel old? No. Do they act old? No. They're not trying to fake it. They're just healthy. They've taken care of themselves, and it's like, I'm not some old guy.
Right, age is all about perception. You know, I know people who are 20-something and old. You know, or out of shape and old. I know folks who are in the 70s that come to the bank with me, and they could walk laps around some of my friends. In energy and quickness of thought and so forth. So
it's like an analogy. It's like bad credit. Okay. See, and when I look at you, I actually see similarities because I feel that for the most part, if you were put in this situation, if the person actually couldn't afford, you would still help them for free. And I've done it with people.
Well, you and I both know.
As a trainer, see, so you care, and I'm saying that, folks, because I think it's important because I remember a time when I was trying to build my credit. The problem was I didn't trust anybody. Where were you?
I probably was still in diapers sometime around that. You're not that old.
Well, you know, they say, what do they say? When the student's ready, the teacher will come.
It does.
You hear those different phrases, and so and I built mine up now. But what I find is very interesting. Like you can build your score up. I was close to 800.
Nice.
But then, if you go buy something for the house, let's say you spend $14,000, it drops your credit score down. It doesn't mean you have bad credit. It just drops down automatically with that purchase. Then once you pay that off, then boom, it goes back up. See?
And that's all about utilization. So utilization is a huge part of your credit. It's all about kind of how you're using your credit, the amount of debt you have towards your income. I tell folks typically if you have a credit line of you know, let's say 1,000, you never want to use more than 30%. Keep that around 10, honestly. You know, so $300 or so, $100 or so at a time. Never use all your credit cards at one time. Maybe 1 or 2 here and there. And then another big nugget for folks is just focusing on the on what you're spending. So if you're having debt and so forth, focus on paying the little bills off and then the bigger ones. And if you can, and for sure, stop using your debit card. Use your credit card and then use your cash to pay off the credit. That's how you kind of get a balanced ratio.
Say that one again.
So instead of using your debit card, what you get, only thing you get in your debit card is your transactional history. By using your credit card, you actually can add that towards your credit profile as payment history because you need a paper trail to build your credit scores. So using your credit card and then your debit card or your cash to pay off the credit is how you actually build a strong financial foundation.
Sounds good. Now, what are some things that people can do right now, even on their own, that you think would actually help to improve their credit score?
So simple things. You know, a lot of times with creditors or lenders like myself, we look at the credit profile. There's a few things we focus on. Simple things is, A, does this person have multiple addresses? Are they at flight risk? Meaning, are they stable enough? To have multiple numbers listed on there. So there's a couple of things you could do just right now that cost nothing but some time. Is to literally write the credit bureaus, update your name, saying, hey, this is the correct spelling of my name, because some people get married, don't do that. Hey, this is the correct social security number I have, because sometimes these items are obsolete or just wrong. This is the correct and current and only address I live at. And then this is the only phone number I want. The phone number is optional, obviously, but just putting that on there. And having that address verification letter, and mail it to all 3 credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And being sure to add a copy of your social security number and a utility bill or something showing proof of your address. It could be a driver's license and so forth. Just that alone could increase your points at least 10 or 15 points just from just verifying your information.
Good information.
Because it also cleans up your credit score. It makes it look tighter, if you will. If you're working out and you want to get tight abs, you want to make sure you get rid of all that extra stuff, cut the fat.
That's right.
So you got to trim the excess fat off of your credit scores. It's just frivolous.
He's trying to take my job.
Hey, I can't replace this guy.
He's trying to take my job. He's trying to take my job. I like that.
I'm telling you, teamwork. Hey, I learned from the best. You gotta
I like that. So what would you tell, looking at my viewing audience, what would you tell them if they're sitting home right now, maybe they're thinking, you know what, I got bad credit, I'm embarrassed, I know I should call this guy.
Yeah.
What do you tell somebody like it? Because people are embarrassed to come in and talk about their credit.
It's a weird, it's a sensitive thing.
And before you share with them, I'll just say it. One time, folks, I had really bad credit. I was like high risk for insurance, everything. And I built, and that's because I made mistakes. Because I was taught the physical thing, not the financial thing. So I kept in great shape, but my finances were like, I get a credit card, I want to max it out.
That's how most of us roll.
Right. And I was embarrassed. I think when you get older, I don't care about any of that stuff at all. I just care about improving, and I care about being honest.
Yes.
I'm not afraid to admit that, hey, I made a mistake or something, but a lot of people are probably like I was. They're kind of embarrassed about it. What would you tell them?
Yeah. First thing I'll say is mainly that, you're not your credit score. Life happens to the best of us. My situation was medical, so I had a lot of medical things and payments and I just couldn't keep up with. My credit score it tanked. Somebody might be divorced. You're probably going through a situation right now where you thought it'd be a great opportunity to build with somebody, and you find yourself going through divorce. So it's not necessary that you are your credit score. It's just a snapshot of some things that's happening financially, not emotionally, spiritually at all. So I tell folks, first and foremost, you're not your credit score. And the good thing is that you can always have and become more than you have and are, because you can always learn.
I like that.
So,
I like that. You're not your credit score.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay? How can I get a hold of you?
So there's a couple of different ways. Business line direct would be 612-470-3927. That's 612-470-3927. You can always set up an appointment with me at NelDuo.com. That's 1L, N-E-L, D as in David, U-O.com. We can set up an appointment and meet there, as well as also email me directly at Nel Duo. That's 1L, N-E-L, D as in David, U-O @gmail.com. Or of course, if you're like, I'm bold and I'm not living in fear, next few weeks or so, come visit me at BMO Harris Bank in Blaine off of 109. We have some great products that can help with that. But my office is in Maple Grove. I kind of had to let that go and shut that down and focus more on how I can go to the people. So I want to do coffee visits, phone consultations, in-home visits, sometimes depending on how it works with my schedule, or group readings as well too. So I think Ron and I hopefully will be able to connect on a few projects where we can get the financial health with the physical health.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great tie-in. It's a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you. It was an honor and pleasure being here.
Have to have you on again.
Yeah,
definitely.
look forward to it.
Folks at home, you've been watching Motivation. I'm Ron Henderson, aka the Fitness King, with the one and only Nel Duo.
That's right.
Looking for help with your credit, building your credit up? This is the guy to talk to. He actually knows it all. I trust him, so I'm giving him my seal of approval. He's not going to mess you over. I wouldn't give him that recommendation, period. And folks know me too much for that. So folks at home, all that you do, stay blessed, stay fit, and stay motivated. I'm going to see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you, Ron.
Good job. Thank you.
To book Ron Henderson for your next event, call 612-386-8178 or send an email to ron@fitnessking.com. That's ron@fitnessking.com.